So today, guys, I am excited because I cannot believe the developers actually listened to us. They listened to the feedback that we gave. And like I said, if you gave feedback on the Division 2 PTS Phase 2, well, they took that feedback and guess what they did? They actually did some changes, and some of these changes are actually pretty cool, and I agree with them. And there's some things that I wish they would have changed and they didn't. Well, that's how it goes sometimes. You voice your opinion and you see what they do. So let's see what they did. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about is the Heartbreaker gear set. Now, obviously, a lot of people had opinions on this. Some people liked it, some people hated it, but let's read what they said. Now, I heard this actually come up a lot. Some people said that they thought the Heartbreaker set was too powerful, and the developers came back and said, right now we are happy with what it adds to the game, and there are no plans to change it anytime soon. We have looked at conversations on the efficiency of the gear set, and so far we are satisfied where they have landed. And I actually thought the Heartbreaker's gear set was actually pretty well balanced. For me, I thought it was good. I thought it actually made sense to leave it how it was. Some people didn't, but hey, the developers actually agreed with the general consensus on this one. The next thing they talked about was buff Heartbreaker, and I kind of thought this was something that they would actually do, because the way it was behaving in Phase 2 with stacks disappearing after 5 seconds instead of starting to diminish, similar to the way the Striker gear set behaves, was intended, and this is what the developer said. But based on our feedback, they convinced us to do things differently. In Phase 3, you can start to see the following changes. You will lose 2 stacks per second instead of losing all stacks after 5 seconds. I actually like this. I like how they decided to go about this. They listened to what a lot of people were saying, and I like how it does diminish slowly, like so that you get the 2-second tick. I think this will actually work really great with the Heartbreaker set. Now, if it isn't as good as a lot of people assumed it would be, worst case, they can revert it back and we'll be back to what we had in PTS2, and that's what the testing phase is for. But I think this will actually be a lot better for the set, and I think a lot of people are going to like playing it this way, just like we saw in Striker in Division 1. So it's actually really cool to see. Now, the final thing they talked about the Heartbreaker is a blue defensive set, and it says we do not see the need to change this at this time, but we will keep a close eye on your feedback after TU15 releases. While Heartbreaker has a damage buff, this is also a durability one, and thus armor bonus you get makes it more sense to have a higher armor value, hence the blue cores. And I thought this was actually, it makes sense, right? Having blue cores versus red cores. What they wanted it to do is when you got the set, for it to roll red rolls, which I think it actually benefits it more and works with how the set is with running blue cores. And obviously, if you farm it enough, you can get those sets to be all red if that's what you want to do. But I think it's going to work best with those blue cores, and more people will tend to use it that way. So overall, I think those are actually some solid changes with the Heartbreaker gear set, and I can't wait to test it out in Phase 3, which actually starts tomorrow. Now, another one that was a hot topic was the Kingbreaker, which the rate of fire was actually really slow compared to the damage. Even though the damage was really high, I felt like it was missing something, and I wasn't the only one. People were actually testing it out, and it came to the conclusion that this was actually on the lower half of ARs if they released it as is. And well, the developers realized, hey, the Kingbreaker's rate of fire is too slow, and they have upgraded it from 500 to 650 for Phase 3. The same applies to the non-name version, the TKB. So I'm very excited to actually try this out. I was really excited when I first saw this. This actually comes with Perfect Spotter. So I'm excited to see how the Kingbreaker actually holds up. But I think it's actually going to be good, and I'm gonna try it out as soon as it goes live. Hopefully later on today, and then I should have an updated video for you guys, because you guys can see I'm using it right here, and I just wasn't a fan of it. I felt like it was just missing that punch, and there's just so many better weapons you can use. So we'll see what this does to it, and will it be something we can see used in TU15. Now, the next change was actually towards one of my favorite LMGs coming to Title Update 15, the Dare LMG, which during the PTS, it was kind of messed up because it was using AR attachments, but they did fix it. So hopefully now we can test it with those LMG attachments and see how it performs. I think it's just going to make it that much stronger. I remember the magazine size was actually small. I couldn't even use a large pouch. And now that I'll be able to use that, that means my magazine size can be better. I could even use something that helps with the reload speed. So I'm gonna test it out a little bit more and I will report back to you guys, but I'm excited that they finally fixed the attachments. Now the exotic LMG, the blue screen, it did not have an exclusive skin, but they did fix it. So we're finally going to see what it actually looks like. Also, the talent on their disruptor rounds was having issues where it cannot be triggered. They also fixed that. So let's see how this thing performs. I honestly thought that it needed to be buffed a little bit because I didn't really see it being an exotic people would use. I really feel like the Pestilence will still be something that they would use over this. But I guess we'll see how the new update changed it to make sure that it's always proccing. But I just feel like those 5 seconds are a little bit on the low end side, but I'll keep playing with it and I'll report back to you guys once I find out how I like it in PTS 3. So with the exotic mask, I was worried that they were going to nerf it, and a lot of people thought so too, but the devs did come out and said, we are happy to see you're excited about it. Right now we have no plans to make any changes to the new exotic mask. So hey, good news there, right? They are not going to nerf it like a lot of you guys were worried Division 2 devs would do. Now they did buff the Dread, I guess you can say, because the focus talent wasn't working during the PTS, but they said it will work because it does have an 8x scope on it, but they didn't address the recoil issues. And if you're not running braced or perfectly braced, I feel like this might actually be very hard to control on console. So it seems like we won't even be able to really use the focus talents either way. And then if we can't take advantage of something like focus, what is the point when I could just run an exotic sniper like the Mantis or even the Nemesis that can one-shot enemies? So, I mean, I guess just time will tell. Will they address the SVD issue with the recoil being very tough on console and having to use braced? And if I don't use brace, then I really can't use it. Now, those are all the changes coming to PTS 3, so I will be testing those and hopefully have those for you. Now, they did address countdown. They said, as mentioned earlier, our goal with countdown was to make it challenging but not impossible to beat with matchmaking for 8 players with mixed build. It would also add an additional challenge for players with more organized groups and better builds to try to complete it with less than 8 players. And this makes sense. If you have really good builds, you could probably beat it with less than 8 players. If you're just matchmaking with random 8 players, it might actually still be tough. Now it says countdown difficulty adjustment. Right now we are very happy with the most difficulty, and your phase 2 feedback echoes our sentiment. There are no plans to change this general difficulty for the remaining of the PTS phase, as well as TU15 candidate master builds. Now they did mention that, just a quick reminder, the possibility of adding other difficulty option is under investigation, and you can expect to hear more from us after TU15 release. So for all of you guys who really want something that might be a little bit harder, even with 8 man for your buddies, well, stay tuned. It still can come once TU15 does release. Now, a big issue with me and a lot of people was the Delta errors, and they were still there in phase 2. They addressed it. They said, with the situation with the Delta errors has improved since phase 1, we are aware that still present and negatively affects the PTS experience. Following phase 2, majority of the issues have been identified and fixed. For phase 3, to our knowledge, very specific conditions need to be met for a player to receive a Delta error. Some of you reported waiting for long times to matchmake with others to get in groups of 8 players. The reason for this is that phase 2 popularity was lower compared to phase 1, and they feel that was because they didn't really announce it to everybody. Hey, this is when PTS 2 was going live. And I remember that was kind of the case. So let's see what happens in phase 3 and see if more players actually test it out. And hopefully we can get some groups in there running. And obviously the Delta errors didn't help it at all. If you're getting a lot of Delta errors, why would you keep trying to get into groups? If it kept giving you Delta errors, you kept getting disconnected, you would just log off and say, forget this, I'm not gonna waste my time. Now, I did talk about the shields. It says, following phase 2 feedbacks, we are happy to hear you're pleased with the shield changes. Right now, we have no plans on changing anything from that. So it looks like the nerfs to the shields are going to stay in place. Now, the final thing they did talk about was the expertise changes coming to phase 3 from some of the key points that we addressed in phase 2 feedback. Now, I heard this a lot, that people were saying that the upgrade costs were too high, and they said, we heard your concerns about the cost being too high, especially for you who tend to have shorter playstations, and you agree that every playstyle should be taken into account and rewarded appropriately for the time spent in the game. After careful consideration, we decided to settle on a lower cost of field recon data, shade calibration, and exotic materials by half, but only from level 11 and up to level 20. Levels 1 to 10 and 21 plus remain unchanged. We believe that these changes will suit the wide range of Division 2 players. So it's actually good to see that they are really thinking about everybody, not just the hardcore players, the casual players, even the guys in the middle. They continue on to say, we have also reduced materials requirements for all ranks and gear pieces by another half. Now gear pieces will require 2 times less materials for upgrades to make it more consistent with the number of materials needed for weapons and skill upgrades. So a lot of you guys who were very concerned with how many materials it would take to upgrade, they addressed that, and I think they actually came on a pretty good number for what it's going to take to fully upgrade. Now, I guess people were saying expertise armor bonus should be increased, which I think it's actually gonna be pretty strong already. And they said, we hear you, but we don't wanna react too fast, as increasing armor even further could have big consequences. Now, they said they want to give everybody a chance to play with TU15, and if they feel that they need to adjust it a little bit more, they will. And the final thing they did with the expertise was the UI features and quality of life improvements. The donate all button was added to the expertise menu based on phase 1 feedback. Unfortunately, using donate all junk button from the expertise menu resulted in donating all the items, no matter if they had been marked as favorite for recalibration or if they were part of a loadout. The issue is now fixed. Additionally, we added a donate all junk button into the main expertise menu. So they actually fixed it, and hopefully all of you guys who lost those items, well, it was just a PTS account, so it's all good. And that seems that is it coming to phase 3. I'm excited to actually test out a couple things for phase 3. As soon as I get those videos ready, I will have them. Plan on testing out a lot of the changes they did, and I should have a video for each item on this channel. So get ready for that. It seems like you guys actually like those videos with me testing it out, giving you my feedback, and letting you guys know what I think about it. Hey, this update should be a lot of fun, and it will be coming very shortly. I'm predicting, like I said, probably June 7th based on when this PTS ends and by the time they get all the feedback, but it can come anytime before that. But I really feel like the latest we will get this is June 7th. So hey, get ready guys, because it will be coming really quick, and it's just around the corner, less than a month away. All right guys, we're gonna wrap this up here. Appreciate the support, appreciate the love. Thanks again, as always. Let me know what you guys think about these changes, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey, Nothing But Skills out. Take it easy, everybody.